Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel where we dive deep into the heart of modern relationships, emotional connection, and timeless wisdom. If you've ever looked in the mirror and wondered why your romantic life feels more like a performance than a partnership, or why genuine respect seems harder to come by the older we get, you're not alone. In today's world, love and respect have become such slippery things. We swipe right, ghost without guilt, and rush from one fleeting connection to the next, wondering why we feel lonelier, less appreciated, and somehow even more misunderstood. But what if I told you that there are timeless techniques, principles of Stoic philosophy, that can help you anchor yourself and attract not just admiration, but deep respect and authentic love? And no, this isn't about playing games or chasing approval. This is about showing up in your romantic life with a quiet, grounded confidence, one that compels others to admire you not because you asked for it, but because you radiate it. In this video, we'll unpack exactly that. 10 unbeatable techniques to earn love and respect, no matter your age. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're simple, transformative ways you can show up differently starting today. So let's start with something that sounds deceptively simple but sits at the very core of this entire conversation: how you hold space not just for others, but for yourself. Most people don't realize that love and respect are not things you can demand. You don't walk into a room, into a date, into a conversation and ask, "Respect me, love me." And yet that's what we do energetically when we're anxious for connection. We lean forward too much. We seek too much validation. We broadcast our loneliness even when we try to hide it. Imagine this: you're on a date, and instead of leaning into every silence, filling every gap, trying to impress with stories or accomplishments, you simply allow yourself to be present. You listen without needing to interject. You allow your eyes to meet theirs, not to convince, but to see. That's where the first technique comes alive: mastering emotional presence. Emotional presence is not passive. It's active in the most profound way. You are fully here. Your mind isn't darting to what they think of you, or what you should say next. When you cultivate this kind of grounded awareness, your entire energy changes. You are no longer scrambling to be liked. You become undeniable. People feel it when you're rooted like that. It's why a Stoic man or woman seems attractive without needing to say much at all. Their presence says everything. It says, "I am complete. I am not here for validation. I am here to see and be seen." And that leads us right into the second technique: cultivating self-respect before expecting respect from others. You cannot give what you don't own. Respect must begin inwardly in how you talk to yourself, how you hold your boundaries, how you prioritize your emotional well-being. Ask yourself gently, how do I treat myself when no one is looking? Do I speak kindly to myself? Do I honor my own time? Do I respect my body, my energy, my rest, my commitments to myself? If your inner world is chaotic, needy, dismissive, or self-loathing, it's almost impossible to project an energy that invites respect. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we must become a master of our own emotions first. Not by suppressing them, but by understanding them, where they come from, what they mean, and how we can sit with them without being ruled by them. This is emotional mastery, and it starts with practicing self-respect in the smallest ways. A partner can sense when you respect yourself. It's in the way you calmly say no when something doesn't feel right. It's in the way you communicate your needs clearly but without aggression. It's in the way you walk away when you know your dignity requires it. Now, once you are anchored in emotional presence and self-respect, there's a subtle but powerful third technique that naturally emerges: learning the art of controlled vulnerability. This is where most people get it wrong in relationships. They think that vulnerability means oversharing, exposing every raw wound, spilling their entire emotional history in an attempt to create intimacy quickly. But true vulnerability isn't about emotional dumping. It's about thoughtful, timely openness. When you speak about your feelings, your experiences, your hopes, your disappointments, do it with intention, not desperation. A Stoic understands that emotions are sacred, but not chaotic. When you share your story from a place of calm ownership, you invite respect. Controlled vulnerability sounds like this. You know, that really hurt me, and I sat with it for a while because I wanted to understand why. What I realized is that I was feeling unseen, and I want to share that with you, not to accuse, but because I value this connection. This approach creates a bridge between two people. It says, I trust you enough to show you this part of me, and I respect you enough to do it without overwhelming you or asking you to fix me. This is deeply attractive. It's magnetic because it shows that you can hold space for your own emotions before handing them over to someone else. And here's where it becomes truly profound. When you master these three foundational techniques, emotional presence, self-respect, and controlled vulnerability, you don't just earn love and respect, you embody it. You become the person others can't help but admire because you represent something rare: calm confidence, balanced emotions, and quiet strength. It's not about loud declarations or demanding attention. It's about the subtle energy you bring into every room, every date, every conversation. Your life begins to change when you realize that love and respect aren't things you chase, they are things you attract by who you are becoming. When you become a steady island in a stormy world, people naturally gravitate towards you, not just romantically, but in friendships, in work, in family. You're not desperate for validation. You are whole, and from that wholeness, love and respect find you. You see, the reason so many relationships feel exhausting is because we're constantly managing perceptions rather than embodying presence. And when you drop that exhausting performance, something beautiful happens. You begin to move through the world with less friction and more authenticity. This brings us naturally to the next technique, embodying quiet strength. Quiet strength is one of the most misunderstood qualities in modern dating culture. Too often we confuse dominance for strength, loudness for confidence, or bravado for authority. But true strength, the kind that earns love and respect, is almost always quiet. It's how you remain calm when things around you feel chaotic. It's the way you listen more than you speak. It's the way you hold your boundaries gently but firmly, no apologies, no need for aggression. Picture this: you're on a date, and your partner tests a boundary, maybe even unintentionally. Quiet strength looks like calmly acknowledging it, honoring how you feel, and expressing it without defensiveness. Instead of snapping, you might say something as simple as, I value this connection, so I need to let you know that this crossed a line for me. Quiet strength doesn't need to justify itself. It's attractive because it communicates that you know your value. It's the very opposite of neediness. You don't need them to agree with you, approve of you, or validate your experience for it to be real. This kind of inner peace is so rare today that when someone embodies it, they stand out instantly, not just in dating, but everywhere, at work, in friendships, even in family dynamics. From quiet strength flows another vital technique, non-reactivity. Non-reactivity isn't about being cold or distant. It's about mastering your emotional responses. It's about recognizing that not every provocation deserves your attention. Imagine a moment where you feel criticized or misunderstood. The instinct for most of us is to react, to defend, explain, or even counterattack. But when you live by Stoic principles, you pause first. You take a breath. You ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Is this an opportunity to connect or an invitation into unnecessary conflict? Most of the time, the answer is that it isn't worth it, and in that pause, you reveal your character. Non-reactivity shows that you are governed by your values, not by momentary emotions. It builds trust. It earns respect because people begin to sense that you can hold yourself together, even under pressure. And when someone feels that from you, love becomes safer, respect becomes inevitable, which leads us beautifully into the next idea, emotional generosity without expectation. This is where many people misunderstand Stoicism. They think that being Stoic means being emotionally closed off, distant, cold. But the truth is, a Stoic can be incredibly warm, even deeply affectionate, but from a place of freedom, not neediness. Emotional generosity means you give love, kindness, compliments, attention freely, not as a transaction. Not as a way to get something back, but because you have so much inner abundance that you can. When you're emotionally generous, you can genuinely say, "I appreciate the way you made me laugh today," or "You look beautiful tonight," without secretly needing a compliment in return. You can give your time, your affection, your listening ear, but only when it's aligned with your integrity. People feel this kind of emotional abundance. It's magnetic. It communicates that you are secure, that your self-worth isn't dependent on what they give you back. And in a culture that so often trades love like a commodity, this makes you stand out as rare, desirable, deeply trustworthy. But it's also important to understand, emotional generosity doesn't mean self-sacrifice. It means that you give because it's aligned with who you are, not because you're afraid to lose someone, or because you think love must be earned through overgiving. This subtle distinction changes everything. When you give from a place of fullness, you remain whole even when it isn't reciprocated exactly the way you'd hope. You can love freely because you are not attached to the outcome. This non-attachment creates a beautiful paradox. People respect and love you more when they sense you are not controlled by the need for their approval. And that's what makes these Stoic principles so powerful. They return us to our own center, our calm, strong, generous self. By this point, what begins to happen is a transformation in how others experience you. You become more spacious, less needy, more grounded. You speak with calm confidence and show up with an energy that says, "I respect myself and I'm here to offer connection, but I am complete regardless." In that state, your presence becomes both soft and strong. You are approachable, but not desperate, open, but discerning. Warm but firm, and this is where the journey continues as we keep unpacking more of these profound, actionable Stoic techniques that make you unforgettable in love and deeply respected in life. There's something subtle but transformative that starts to unfold when you embody quiet strength, non-reactivity, and emotional generosity. You begin to cultivate an inner space that is deeply magnetic, not because you're striving to attract, but because you are simply grounded in your own worth. And this brings us directly into the next essential principle, the power of delayed gratification in love. Most of us want instant validation. We live in a culture where waiting feels intolerable, where text messages demand immediate replies, where vulnerability seems rushed, where intimacy is expected before trust has even been earned. But Stoic philosophy invites us to pause and ask, what is the rush? What am I truly seeking? When you embrace delayed gratification in relationships, you communicate a profound message to anyone you date or love, that you value depth over speed, that you understand intimacy as something that unfolds with time, that you're not here to rush through connection, but to nurture it carefully. It's when you can delay the need for immediate reassurance that your respectability increases. You don't press for instant emotional returns. You don't demand answers before their time. Instead, you let moments breathe, trusting that what is meant for you cannot be rushed. Imagine how different a romantic conversation feels when you're not anxiously seeking resolution in the first 5 minutes. When you can sit in the space between words, between misunderstandings, and allow the other person to meet you in their own time. This patience, this ability to tolerate uncertainty without spiraling, it's incredibly attractive. It's rare. It shows that you are secure enough to let connection unfold naturally, without force. And this skill leads us to another deeply Stoic quality, sovereignty over your attention. Your attention is the most precious gift you have to offer. Where your mind goes, your energy follows, and your relationships will reflect that. In today's distracted world, nothing is more valuable than the person who can give their full, undivided attention. When you sit across from someone and give them the rare experience of being fully seen, fully heard, you immediately set yourself apart. But sovereignty over your attention also means you protect it. You don't allow drama, gossip, negativity, or emotional chaos to consume your mental space. You choose wisely what you engage with. You are deliberate about where you spend your emotional energy. And this creates a sense of trust in others, because people can feel when you're present and when your energy isn't fragmented by distractions. In a dating culture that thrives on split focus, checking phones during dinner half, listening while scrolling, being the person who brings full presence is a quiet but powerful rebellion. And it earns immense respect. This principle flows into the next one naturally, being rooted in integrity. Integrity is more than honesty. It's consistency between your values and your actions. It's the ability to live in alignment so that what you say matches what you do, and what you promise is what you deliver. When you show up with integrity in your romantic life, it becomes clear that your word can be trusted, your boundaries can be respected, and your affection is genuine. But integrity isn't just about keeping promises to others, it's about keeping promises to yourself. If you say you value your time, your health, your emotional well-being, you act accordingly. And when you live this way, others feel it. They know you are someone who doesn't just say you respect yourself, you show it through your choices. This is deeply attractive because integrity communicates safety. It says to a partner, "You can trust me because I trust myself." The more you anchor your life in these small but powerful acts of integrity, from showing up on time to communicating honestly to staying faithful to your own standards, the more you become a person worthy of genuine respect and love. What begins to emerge as you embody these principles is a deep sense of inner stability. You become less swayed by the opinions of others, less desperate for external validation, and far more centered in your own truth. At this point, you're no longer chasing love or respect, you're simply living in a way that attracts them effortlessly. And that's where the journey continues, with more refined and beautiful ways to embody Stoic wisdom in your love life. By now, what we're really uncovering is that respect and love aren't things you ask for. They're things you naturally command when you live in this grounded, intentional way. Your energy begins to change, not in an effortful way, but because who you are feels different to anyone who meets you. At this point, we step into one of the most critical yet overlooked practices, the graceful handling of rejection. In life, and especially in love, rejection is inevitable. Even the most grounded, self-respecting person will encounter it, because not every connection is meant to bloom. But it's how you respond to rejection that defines your character. Stoicism teaches us that external events, including rejection, are beyond our control, but our response to them is always within our power. When someone doesn't return your affection, when a relationship ends, when an interest goes unreciprocated, do you spiral into self-doubt? Do you take it as a personal indictment of your worth, or can you see it simply for what it is, a reflection of incompatibility, timing, or circumstance, not a definition of your value? The person who can handle rejection with grace instantly earns respect. You're communicating, "I respect myself enough not to beg for affection where it isn't freely given. I honor your decision and I choose to remain dignified." Imagine being that person who can send a warm, respectful message after a breakup or after a failed date saying, "Thank you for your honesty. I wish you the best." without bitterness, without sarcasm, without clinging. It is this rare emotional poise that shows you are whole even in disappointment. And that kind of dignity is magnetic in its own right. This grace sets you apart because it's rare most people collapse emotionally in the face of rejection or lash out. But you, grounded in Stoic practice, become someone who is stronger because you understand rejection as part of life's flow, not a personal failing. From here, there's another quality that amplifies your attractiveness: minimalism in words and promises. It's tempting to think that if we just explain ourselves more, talk more, promise more, we will win someone's affection or earn their admiration. But the opposite is true. Stoicism teaches us to speak less, mean more. When your words are carefully chosen, when your promises are few but kept impeccably, your credibility rises. You become trustworthy not because you say so, but because your actions prove it. Minimalism in words means you don't overwhelm conversations with unnecessary details or justifications. You speak simply, clearly, and directly, and people listen more carefully because they know your words matter. And when it comes to promises, you offer them sparingly. You don't overpromise to impress. You don't say "I'll always" or "I'll never" recklessly. You let your integrity show through rather than grand declarations. This economy of speech and commitment is a hallmark of the high value man or woman, and it fosters deep respect because it signals that you are intentional. You don't waste words, and you certainly don't waste other people's time or trust. That intentionality brings us to a final insight for this part: the art of leaving space. In love and dating, most people fear space. They rush to fill it, fill silences with chatter, fill schedules with endless plans, fill emotions with explanations. But space is where attraction breathes. A Stoic understands that space is not rejection, it's respect. You create space by not overwhelming your partner, by giving them freedom to think, feel, and come to you in their own way. You allow pauses between texts, you honor time apart, you cultivate your own life fully so that your relationship doesn't become your entire identity. This art of leaving space is deeply attractive because it creates an atmosphere of ease and freedom. You are not clinging, not crowding, not consuming, you're allowing. And ironically, the less you chase, the more someone feels safe to come toward you, because your presence doesn't feel heavy, demanding, or desperate. In this way, your relationships gain an elegant rhythm. You're not forcing connection, you're inviting it. You're not grasping for love and respect, you're living in a way that naturally attracts them. You become the person who is whole, grounded, patient, and therefore irresistible. There's something deeply calming when you begin to live this way. When you speak less but mean more, when you offer your attention intentionally, when you allow space for relationships to breathe, your entire energy shifts. You become a quiet force and people notice. But what truly makes this approach transformative is the next technique: being unapologetically yourself without arrogance. This is not about being blunt, rude, or selfish. It's about cultivating authenticity so deeply that you no longer bend yourself into shapes just to please others or avoid conflict. It means knowing what you value, what you love, what you will and won't tolerate, and expressing that gently but firmly. The Stoic understands that respect begins with self-honesty. When you live in alignment with who you really are, you stop performing. You stop trying to guess what someone else might want and start showing up as who you are, unapologetically. Imagine this on a date. Instead of molding your opinions, your preferences, or your desires to match theirs, you speak from your truth. If you love quiet evenings over loud parties, you say so. If you prefer depth over small talk, you lean into that. And this clarity creates attraction because people respect those who know themselves. It's rare to meet someone who isn't contorting their personality just to win approval. So when you are that person, it's refreshing. But authenticity without arrogance is key. It's not about dominating conversations with your preferences or projecting superiority. It's about owning your reality calmly, humbly, and allowing the other person the freedom to meet you there. You are not imposing who you are. You are simply being who you are and trusting that the right people will respect and cherish that. From this honesty emerges another technique that reinforces everything we've explored so far: emotional independence. Emotional independence does not mean being detached or distant. Quite the opposite, it means you are fully available to love, but not dependent on any one person's affection to feel whole. This independence is intoxicating because it relieves pressure from your interactions. You are there because you choose to be, not because you need to be. In practice, this looks like being able to enjoy your own company, nurture your own interests, cultivate your own passions, so that when you show up in relationship, you are sharing from abundance rather than emptiness. And this independence means you are less likely to overreact, to cling, to suffocate. You don't look to a partner to fix you, heal you, or complete you. Instead, you approach love as a free gift, something you give and receive without it needing to define your identity. When a partner senses that your happiness does not depend on their mood, their validation, or their attention, when they feel that you are capable of standing on your own 2 feet emotionally, that's when they can truly respect you. It creates a dynamic where love thrives because neither person feels burdened by the other's insecurities. And this freedom, this independence, invites even deeper intimacy because both people feel safe to be exactly who they are. Finally, woven through all of these techniques is something we must talk about now: patience with the process of earning love and respect. In an age of instant everything, patience is a radical act, but Stoicism reminds us that anything worthwhile, including love and respect, takes time to build. Relationships deepen gradually, respect accumulates quietly through consistent behavior. You cannot rush genuine trust. You cannot demand genuine admiration. But when you practice patience, when you allow a connection to evolve naturally, when you're willing to wait for the right alignment rather than forcing premature intimacy, you earn a different kind of respect. This patience isn't passive, it's active. It's a calm confidence that says, I don't need to rush this because I'm secure in myself, and I trust that what is real will unfold in its own time. This patience is deeply attractive. It conveys wisdom, maturity, and self-control, rare qualities in modern dating. By now, you may already feel how different this way of being is. You're no longer reaching, you're no longer grasping, you're no longer dependent on another's approval to feel worthy. You are simply showing up as your whole self present, self-respecting, emotionally generous, patient, and independent. And this way of living quietly teaches others how to treat you with love and respect that comes naturally, not from coercion or performance. As this journey unfolds, you may already feel a shift, a subtle but profound realignment where you no longer look outward, asking, how can I make them love me? But rather inward, discovering how to become the kind of person who naturally attracts love and respect. And so we arrive at the last but no less powerful technique, being a creator of emotional safety. There's nothing more attractive or more deserving of respect than the person who makes others feel safe to be themselves. Emotional safety isn't about agreeing with everything or avoiding conflict. It's about creating an atmosphere where the other feels seen, heard, and honored, even when you disagree. In relationships, this shows up when you listen without interruption, when you validate feelings, even if you don't fully understand them, when your tone remains calm in difficult conversations, when your presence communicates, you are free to express your truth without fear of judgment. This kind of emotional safety allows love to deepen naturally. People gravitate toward those with whom they feel safe, safe to laugh, cry, share, grow. And yet, this safety must first exist within you. You must be safe with yourself, honest about your feelings, patient with your own imperfections, compassionate toward your own emotional landscape. When you do that, your relationships begin to mirror it. Your calm invites calm, your grace invites grace. Your steadiness becomes a harbor in a world that often feels chaotic. Imagine how different your romantic life would feel if every interaction came from this place, where emotional presence, self-respect, quiet strength, non-reactivity, generosity, patience, and emotional independence are not techniques you apply, but ways you live. This is what Stoic philosophy ultimately teaches us about love and respect, that they are the natural outcomes of inner mastery. You don't have to beg for them, manipulate to get them, or exhaust yourself proving you deserve them. When you become emotionally present, you are seen. When you cultivate self-respect, you are valued. When you practice controlled vulnerability, you are trusted. When you embody quiet strength, you are admired. When you handle rejection gracefully, you are remembered. When you speak less but mean more, you are taken seriously. When you create space, you are desired. When you own your truth without arrogance, you are appreciated. When you are emotionally independent, you are cherished. When you offer emotional safety, you are loved deeply and respected fully. It's a beautiful paradox, isn't it? The less you chase these things, the more naturally they come to you. So, as we close this conversation today, I want you to reflect gently. Where can you embody more presence? Where can you honor yourself more fully? Where can you create space for love to emerge organically, not through force but through grace? You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Small, consistent steps, a deeper breath before reacting, a kind word where silence once sat, a clearer boundary where you used to bend, these are what build your new foundation. You deserve love, you deserve respect, but they begin with how you love and respect yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this conversation resonated, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Your experiences matter, your story matters. And if you found value here, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep creating spaces where we can all grow, heal, and love more deeply. Here's to living from your center, to walking with quiet strength, to loving boldly but without fear, and to becoming someone who naturally inspires admiration and affection, simply by being grounded, present, and true.